Welcome to another Poetry Deep Dive today. I love Denis Martindale. He has written over 3,700 poems for the Poem Hunter website. Denis Martindale has written a new poem titled The Challenges and the Choices. And here's what the poem's message shares with us today.
Okay, let's just pause and think about that number for a second. 3,700. That is literally a mountain of created output. Denis Martindale has spent an incredible amount of time pouring out his observations on life, human nature, and, the everyday struggles we all go through. So in this brand new explainer, we are unpacking his latest piece. It's a poem that tackles a philosophy we honestly kind of ignore in our modern, super fast-paced, thrill-seeking world. And that's the fine art of just playing it safe. In a culture that is constantly screaming at us to push boundaries, Martindale asks us to hit the brakes and consider the actual real-life cost of all that supposed bravery.
Section 1. The pressure to be bold. Why do we actually take risks? Right off the bat, Martindale points a finger directly at the root of so many terrible decisions, and that's societal pressure. We are constantly bombarded with double dares. We hear those mocking little chicken sounds from our peers, and, well, all too often, we totally cave. But why? The poet warns us that it's just ego. It's vanity. He questions the logic of climbing a literal mountain just to risk your life, or swimming the channel, bringing yourself all this pain and strife. For what? Some folks, he points out, do it because they're a bit out of touch and let fantasy completely rule their lives. Others will do absolutely anything just because they love money way too much. But ultimately, when you yield to these pressures, the poem argues that, quote, through vanity you lose your soul. And you unnecessarily risk your physical body right along with it.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core challenge he throws right at us. Where is your choice for self-control? Seriously, that's what I'm asking you right now. It's a fantastic question to chew on. When you're faced with a ridiculous challenge, a dare, or just that burning urge to show off, do you actually pause? Are you letting vanity or the fear of looking like a coward completely override your basic common sense and self-preservation? It actually takes a whole different kind of strength to just look people in the eye and say no when everyone else is pressuring you to do something rash.
All right, let's move on to Section 2, the reality of taking risks. Basically, what happens when things don't go as planned.
So, what actually happens when you ignore that self-control? Well, Martindale walks us through this super grounded, kind of wince-inducing little anecdote. It usually starts with a provocation, right? Maybe someone takes a chance on a double dare. Then comes the inevitable mistake. The poet remembers this specific guy who decided to take a chance on a beautiful sunny day. The result? Step 3, he lost 4 teeth. Yep, things didn't go well at all. And finally, step 4, the endless aches. The poem points out that just one single mistake ending in an injury is really all it takes to guarantee aches and pains that seldom ever cease.
So the really crucial takeaway here is that yielding to a dare rarely ends in some blaze of glory. The poem paints this sad picture of the man who lost his teeth, pointing out that he never smiled the same old way ever again, mostly just so people wouldn't be able to tell what happened to him. He watched other people play the fool while somehow assuming they were looking smart or cool. But in reality, taking these completely reckless risks usually just results in your dignity getting totally crushed or being lost to remorse. Instead of looking brave, you just end up playing the fool and paying for it with lifelong physical consequences. Not exactly a great trade-off.
Which brings us to Section 3, Hollywood Heroes versus Reality. Spoiler alert, you are not an action star.
Martindale uses this hilarious but honestly highly effective contrast here. On one hand, we've got the fantasy. We binge heroic TV shows like Star Trek or Hercules. We see James Bond driving racing cars or effortlessly skiing down mountain slopes while dodging bullets. We read comic books about the Justice League, watching Superman and the Flash zipping around completely invulnerable. But then, we have reality. The poet bluntly states it, I am not James Bond. I am not a star. I'm definitely not a stuntman or a fall guy. I am not a member of the Justice League. And because he recognizes that he isn't a superhero, he realizes he doesn't need to be rash. He isn't a dope. He would much rather be safe, sitting on the couch, watching his telly. Real life simply isn't the movies, guys, and our human bodies are incredibly fragile compared to the action stars we idolize.
Moving into Section 4, embracing the comfort of home. Discretion is the better part of valor.
As the poem wraps up, it genuinely celebrates the undeniable wisdom of just staying indoors. Why pretend you're brave enough to roam the whole wide world when the world is literally full of things that want to eat you? Let's tally up the specific threats Martindale outright refuses to face. He won't go to Indy to face a tiger. Honestly, fair enough. He won't go to Russia for fear of facing a bear. Also, a very reasonable life choice. In fact, he straight up admits he's even scared to face a bear cub. He says these creatures don't make him smile, they just annoy him, and he would absolutely run a mile to get away from them. It's humorous, for sure, but it's an incredibly practical take on why staying safe and warm inside your own home makes so much logical sense.
And that brings us to the final, brilliant punchline of our explainer. Forget the tigers and the bears, Martindale brings the danger right down to the most relatable domestic level possible. Quote, "There's a spider in my bathtub, so I'll wait till it's gone." I love that. It perfectly validates the choice of comfort over danger. Why fight the spider? Just wait it out. Discretion truly is the better part of valor. Denis Martindale reminds us that there is zero shame in self-preservation and a whole lot of wisdom in keeping your teeth intact and your body warm. So I'm going to leave you with this thought to ponder the next time someone challenges you to step outside your comfort zone. Is the temporary glory of a double dare really worth a lifetime of aches? Or are you brave enough to just sit back, turn on the telly, and let the spider have the bathtub?